Hi, good evening, everybody. This is video for English 1301, um, tentatively entitled, "But I can't get anyone to peer review my paper!" Right? Because that's the response I've been getting over the last couple of days. See, my dog Nut Nut agrees, as you can hear. She thinks that this is a very troubling issue. That's the response I've been getting via email and text over the last few days. I did mention this briefly in the um, in the check-ins last week. But for those of you that haven't had a chance to watch the video I posted, or maybe you didn't remember this specifically, so obviously the preferred procedure for peer review on the narrative essay, the Who I Am narrative essay, is that you would connect with someone in your group, and then share your essay via file share. Return that information back to the person, and so on and so forth, and have an exchange about your essay, and then peer review based on that, and write your reflections based on that. So, for whatever reason, I mean, we are, as I've said in a couple of places, on a couple of occasions, this term already. This is disaster pedagogy. We are still in a pandemic. Um, you know, People are making remarkable strides in their lives. You all are doing a lot of stuff, and I get that. Some of you have class responsibilities that are just out of this world. Some of you are taking so many hours, it's unbelievable, plus working full time and so on and so forth and everything, right? So anyway, I understand if at least particularly for this first essay, first major essay, you didn't uh, connect with your group or whatever. And a couple of people um, were not added to groups until later on because of when you were added into the course. Blackboard did not put you in a group like it uh, was supposed to. So I put you in manually once I discovered that. Okay, in any case, let me break this down for you. Um, how to what to do, right, about peer editing if you can't get a hold of somebody from your group. And I realize that even happens, in an in-person class situation, which is why I began to emphasize the reflection on the peer edit as far as what's assessed on my end as opposed to the peer edit itself, because I don't want somebody else falling through to um, hurt your grade or reflect poorly on your performance in the course. Okay, so number one is every week you have to do a reflection. So the fact that you didn't get your stuff peer reviewed is not an excuse for not turning in your reflection. It is not, right? Because you can always reflect on what happened in your week, about the frustration of not having someone to peer review, and so on and so forth, and all this. There's so much to reflect about in this world that we live in today, right? So not having someone to peer review, is not an excuse for not doing the reflection. Now, if you do peer review this week, because we still have 2 weeks before the piece is due, the revised piece, right? Which is good because I haven't returned all the essays yet, so I'm working on that myself. But in any case, if you haven't had your piece peer reviewed yet, you'll use those peer review questions that were on week five's reflective reflection prompt list, right? You'll use those when you do get your piece peer reviewed, right? So, but not having your piece peer reviewed is not an excuse for not turning in your reflection. It's not, okay? Because very clear, you know, you got to do your reflection every week. That's the primary basis of your grade, right? By the end of the term. It's not an excuse, okay? Now, again, I want to be magnanimous. I want to be understanding. So, if you felt like it was an excuse, if you turn your stuff in very, very soon, your reflection in very, very soon, let me know in the comments section, as I demonstrated to you last week in the video, right? Let me know in the comments why you're turning it in late, and I may take consideration on that. I'm not obligated to, but I might. Particularly if you do take the effort, right, to communicate with me the way that I asked you to communicate with me, right? Which is by putting your reason for not having your stuff in on time in the comment feedback to me. Okay, remember, that's what I'm asking you to do. So if you do it correctly, I'm going to say, wow, this person did it correctly. And I'm going to take I'm going to look very, very fondly on that. Right? So, now, back to and I promise you I'm not on any illicit substances except for some caffeine. Okay? It's just been that kind of week, as a lot of you can attest, right? Now, rest in peace, Justice Ginsburg, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So, and happy Rosh Hashanah for those of you who are observing. And happy Equinox, or Mabon, for those of you who are observing that. Which is tomorrow, which is probably the earliest you're going to see this video. So, moving on. So, if you haven't been able to connect with a group member, there are a couple of different options that you have for peer review at that point. One is you can make an appointment with the Writing Center, and all the Writing Center appointments are facilitated virtually this semester. So you can make a Writing Center appointment. Okay, and then you can, take your essay to the Writing Center virtually, okay? And then, you can reflect upon that experience as part of your week 6 reflection, right? Okay? You also have the option, and I've allowed students to do this before, even in in-person classes in extreme circumstances. So I'm not just kind of pulling this out of nowhere, right? Okay, but if you have someone with whom you're in contact who has taken this course or an equivalent course before, you can ask that person to review your piece. Okay? Now, of course, this does not mean that your 11-year-old cousin, for whom you're facilitating their elementary school online, right? It doesn't mean you can show them your essay and say, hey, read this for me and tell me what you think. That person may be an extremely smart and intuitive 11-year-old, but strictly speaking, that person is not qualified to review your piece. Now, if you've got, say, an older cousin who has taken English 1301 or an equivalent course, that person is qualified. Okay? If you, in bare minimum, right, if you know somebody else who's taking this course right now, even if it's from a different instructor or at a different institution, right, somebody you went to high school with, and so on and so forth, even having that person peer review your piece is better than not having it peer reviewed, because the whole philosophy or idea behind peer review is having another set of eyes on your piece to give you some potential feedback. You'll notice in this folder also there's a video on decoding my comments. So please take a look at that piece also if you have not done so already. Okay, I'm going to cut this video short. 10 minutes is good enough for me. I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope to see everybody in one of the check-in sessions, if at all possible. Okay, thanks a lot. And again, if you have an issue, feel free to reach out to me and text me. Okay? All right. Have a wonderful week, everybody.